Well, the first thing I remember anything with Tolkien was the animated movie they did back in the 70s, which I found absolutely fascinating. Obviously, it was a severely edited down from the book The Hobbit. And then going into high school, one of the assigned books that we had to read four books a year. One of them was, of course, The Hobbit. So I got my feet wet with basically the first original one, and which opened up that world, that opened up the door to what this was about. And I've collected many things about Tolkien and read up about Tolkien after that because I just found things fascinating. I'm someone who studied medieval history, Viking era, of course, at the same time would be the Anglo-Saxon. And the fact that Tolkien wanted to make a mythology for England, for the Anglo-Saxon England, we felt things were too Francified with the French. And him drawing in from, of course, needless to say, English folklore, Nordic folklore and mythology, Finnish folklore, uh, a mess of others, bringing it together in a fashion, especially with the languages and such. The man was brilliant on creating a world using these. And of course, needless to say, it's no world long before us. It's still our Earth, but way back when. And how he did it was just so fascinating that he was able to draw everything together and made it mesh. It wasn't uh, it wasn't one of those things where, and not to be cruel to Lewis, but with Narnia, things were getting a bit hodgepodge. You had your Greek mythology, this, and then you have Father Christmas. Tolkien kept things to that Anglo-Saxon, Nordic, Finnish, what would be about in that area of that world. Wow, that's a hard one to say. Uh, Bilbo Baggins in many ways because he's one that started off with the mission in the beginning. So you saw him as a young hobbit or younger hobbit, and then seeing him as he's older when Lord of the Rings came about, and the corruption of the ring, and of course Gandalf breaking him of that and sending him off to Lothlorien to be with the elves. The other character would be Boromir, and the reason why I sit back and say Boromir because Tolkien, Lord of the Rings is a very Roman Catholic book. It incredibly is. You'll find so much of his Roman Catholicism in there. And after he betrayed the hobbits in the Fellowship and was defending Frodo and of course Sam, he's turned into a pincushion by the orcs. And the first person to find him, of course, is Strider. And Strider gives him basically those last rites. He confesses his sins to him, and he's exonerated of them. He dies in peace. He knew he did wrong, but in the end, he made good. And I guess those are the two characters that really find fast. And even though Boromir was, only in the first book, and needless to say, wasn't as important as time went along, it was his brother. To transcribe the books onto screen, of course, as we know, it's a translation work you sometimes have to take liberties on. Jackson did an excellent job of doing so. I mean, there are things I didn't agree with what he did in there, but he did a great job of bringing it to life. The having the right people working on the costuming, the weapons, the creatures. Uh, of course, the BBC, obviously, you would have that ability to be a little bit more faithful because you don't have that on-screen representation. You're able to have that theater of the mind, which is what's great about radio. And I know I only saw the first Hobbit film. I couldn't really get through the other two because of the severe liberties taken. So I had to sit back and say the animated one. It was really got me fired up for an animated film for what it was. They did a darn good job of transcribing Tolkien in their own way onto the small screen with that. And with a great cast, by the way. I mean, you take a look and hear the cast in that, it's just fascinating. Matter and antimatter. I mean, when you have a team of ignorant buffoons at Amazon who even confess they've never read the stuff, they've never meshed themselves into the myth, the lore, they're doing their own thing, and then they're putting words into Tolkien's mouth and in his mind. This is what Tolkien would want, or this is what he was really meaning. And it's like, you got the letters of Tolkien, you got the official biography. There is enough stuff where you knew where he was coming from, and that's besides all the other little books, other books that came along that show you how his thinking of building this world was. It's a cesspool over there. Tolkien is a giant. He made himself well known what he was intending. He made it well known what people were and how things were. Amazon can just bugger off. It's, if you're not going to be respectful, well, without respect, we reject, to quote a certain individual that we all know.
As ever, this is Salty Texas Sea. I am Corey DB. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you've seen and heard, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you on board. That way you know, and we have things like live streams, which we are going to be doing every Tuesday evening. Take care. I hope you're having a great 2022.